so this is a very special edition of Virtual Mental Health Monday, where we are celebrating our 10th anniversary of our UAB Arts and Medicine program. We would not be, of course, arts and medicine if we didn't have the amazing people, artists and creative arts therapists who make up our team. They are the heart and soul of what we do. So I will not talk too much, but I did want to give a brief background, and we'll go from there. So UAB Arts and Medicine, we grew out of Art Play, which is the Community Education Engagement Department of UAB Arts. So I started with the Alice Stevens Center actually in 2002, and in 2005 I had the wonderful opportunity to become the director of education and outreach, and then in 2011 my partner in crime, Heath Mixon, who I think is on this call or on this Zoom, and I opened Art Play. And so then in 2011, we also started our Aging Creatively program, which was the precursor to UAB Arts and Medicine. In 2013, we started our pilot. We'd already been working with Children's of Alabama. They would bring groups of, excuse me, of some of their patients to the Art Play House, and we would provide arts engagement with them. And so then again, we had the opportunity to start a pilot project with UAB Medicine. And we started with 5 artists who did about 2 hours a week, each in different units of the hospital where the patients had longer than average lengths of stay. And so the idea was to support them, if for their long stays. And so anyway, we've got some good results from that. We found that patients reported reduced pain, reduced anxiety after immediately following our sessions. It wasn't really heavy scientific research, but we did want to get some evaluation. And so in 2014, we started our full program. So today, our mission is to enhance health and well-being for patients, their families, and healthcare staff in healthcare facilities and hospitals, and to support community members all around using arts and creativity to support well-being. Since 2013, we've served over 215,000 people. And in addition to the work that we started with Jordan DeMoss, our wonderful leader who partnered with us, so we're at UAB Medicine, still at Children's of Alabama. We're also at St. Vincent's East. And of course, we still do our Aging Creatively program, which supports senior adults who live in HUD-subsidized residential facilities. And then we also work with children and adults who have disabilities, live with chronic conditions, and mental health disorders. And we support people with mental health issues. And then we have so our mission is to, as I mentioned, to enhance health and well-being through the arts, but it's actually a part of a larger field of arts and health. It supports the World Health Organization's mission or definition of health, which is, of course, it's not merely the absence of physical disease, but it's the health of the whole person, including mind, body, spirit, social, financial, so truly a whole person approach to health. And so that's why it's also such a wonderful complement into healthcare facilities, because our patients in all the healthcare locations we work with are getting top-notch quality care, often addressing their physical well-being, so we can come alongside and support their spiritual well-being, their spirit and emotional well-being as well. And some of the benefits that have been studied include things like reduced stress, reduced perceived pain, improved mood. Of course, it can actually provide a distraction from medical problems. There have even been some studies that show that people who have access to arts can have a reduced length of stay. And of course, it allows for self-expression, which also leads to feelings of having a sense of control over the environment that they are in, which of course can be a challenge when you're in a hospital setting. And another wonderful thing that you'll hear about today is social connectedness. The arts are a wonderful way to connect people socially and address loneliness and isolation. It can even prevent the onset of mental illness, or support the maintenance of mental illness and age-related physical decline. And also assist in acute and end-of-life care. So none of these things would happen without our incredible team. We have 3 music therapists, we have 1 art therapist, a yoga therapist, and then we have our extraordinary team of artists in residence, a number of whom are here today with us. And they're the ones with the stories, they're the ones with the experiences and the hearts and talents. They are the heart of what we do. And so I am going to stop talking now, and I'll turn it over to, when we look back to our pilot program, we have our wonderful Elizabeth Vanderkamp, she's going to start us off.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Kimberly. And it's so wonderful to be here celebrating 10 years of arts and medicine that has absolutely flown by. And I'm an alumni and a hanger-on of arts and medicine. But when I worked in the hospital, I was lucky enough to be part of the pilot with some of my beautiful colleagues. Can y'all hear me? Is it okay? Okay. So I did a few things in the hospital. Mainly, I was a bedside storyteller, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. I learned a visual art form called Zentangle that I also offered. I did some kind of wacky movement for staff as just a break, and I was an excellent teller of bad jokes. But bedside storytelling, I'll start there. The first unit that I worked on, as Kimberly mentioned, was the bone marrow transplant unit. And 10 years ago, when people checked in for a bone marrow transplant, it was for an average of 3 weeks, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. And a caregiver had to check in with them. They had to mostly stay in their room, and then they could walk around the very, very small unit, but they were limited in visitors. They were limited in what they could eat. It could be a very, very hard time. And I was very drawn to that unit because I have a brother who is a thriver of a bone marrow transplant from years ago. And I just wanted to give back, given all that he had been given. I also worked on the acute care for elders unit, which is at Highlands Hospital, and it's a model program for how to take care of people over 65. Just as we have pediatrics, we have geriatrics, because medicine interacts differently with people as they age, which I'm coming to learn as I age. And there's also one of the beautiful things about working there was all the stories of people. I met people over 100 years old that would talk about their childhood. And one woman that I met, I think she was 107, and her daughter, who was in her 80s, was by her bedside. And it was just an incredible opportunity to be there. I also worked in addiction recovery, the self-care studio, the integrative medicine clinic. And then the wild card of it all was referrals. News spread of what great work arts and medicine could do. And providers started recommending us and saying, oh, yeah, that storyteller could help, or call that visual artist, or the stitching artist, or the poet in residence. And that was pretty exciting because that could be anywhere in the hospital. It could be on the neurological unit. It could just be anywhere. So it was a little bit like, for those of you that are old enough to remember the show, Let's Make a Deal. It was just, you never know what was behind the curtain. It could be an 18-year-old that wanted nothing to do with someone like me, or a 70-year-old person who was so lonely that didn't want the artist to leave. Um, so I'm going to just share a story of the first Christmas Eve that I worked. So that was December of 2014. Um, Honestly, I had some family for visiting from out of town, and I told them that I had to work because I would rather be at work than be with some of these difficult family members. But I dressed up like a Christmas goddess, and that was a very fun thing about being an artist in residence. Of I love dressing up or trying to wear really bright colors because I felt like when I went in somebody's room, they would know it wasn't going to be to check their blood pressure or talk to them about their diagnosis. And that was a great gift of being an artist in residence. I knew something about what was going on with people because of the unit they were on, but I never asked, although that's not true. I did ask one time, and it was like I had deflated a beautiful balloon because as an artist in residence, it was such a beautiful thing to just connect with people as people. It was a human to human connection, and my vehicle for that was storytelling. So on this Christmas Eve, I had on this bright green dress. I put all these doolollies in my hair like Cindy Lou Who, and my red cowgirl boots. And I went into the infusion therapy room in the Kirklin clinic, and very sadly, it was packed with people getting infusions. But I sat down next to these two women, and it was sisters. And one of them was there for her infusion, and she was hearing impaired. So an ASL interpreter was also there. Well, we started talking, and the interpreter was doing her beautiful ASL, and then some other people started sitting around, and soon there were like 10 people, and we were kind of arranged ourselves in a circle. And I started telling this Alabama folk tale called The Salt and the Pudding. And it was just this silly story of how a mother was asking all her daughters to salt the pudding, and they all did, unbeknownst to each one of the other. But everybody started acting out the story as I told it. And I remember this one particular man, he would just, the way he would like pick up the pinch of salt and put it in the pudding, and we would all laugh. And then at the end, it was almost like we had created our own fireplace gathering in this waiting room. And the ASL interpreter was so funny because she said, I chose the name Mrs. McGillicuddy. And she was like, oh, come on. And I was like, okay, well, I'll shorten it to Mrs. Jones so she wouldn't have to spell out all that name. Um, so I think that one of the things that I've experienced and loved in being an artist in residence, and I think it's kind of a title for life, like we can all be artists in residence wherever we go, by just bringing a willingness to listen and to connect with people, whatever that art might be. Mine's pretty easy. It was talking. And I'll just say, a few times, more than a few times, I would knock on a door and say to somebody, hi, I'm Elizabeth from Arts and Medicine, and I'm a storyteller. Would you like to hear a story? And people would go, what? And I'd do my spiel again, and they'd say, is this your job? And I'd say, yes. Can you believe it? This is an actual job in the real world. And then my greatest hope is that I would share a story, and that it was really fun sometimes just to ask people, about their lives and be able to pick out a story that might relate to that. And then the very best thing that would happen is that I would be more like a gardener, that I laid fertile ground, and then the person experiencing the story with me would then share a story. And one woman I worked with, she was actually a Rosie the Riveter, worked in the plant, I think in Gadsden. And she was laying flat in her bed as I shared my story. And then she started to sit up and she goes, "Well, I've got a story." And it's almost like time traveling. So as she shared the story of a young one as a young woman, and now as a woman in her 80s, it was like that one young woman emerged. So it's such an honor to be with you all and get to share some of what I got to experience. So I turn it over to Kimberly and our next artist.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's so wonderful to hear your stories. Okay, Helene. Helene was also one of our pilot artists, and she comes to us from Selma.
Hey, everybody. It's such an honor to be here. I can't believe, we're celebrating such a big anniversary for arts medicine. I too am like Elizabeth. I am now an alumni. I just ended my my job with arts medicine just this May because of a move to Selma, and I miss it terribly. I think it's kind of funny when I was reflecting about doing this Zoom talk that I remember when we first started arts and medicine, we had to often we had to educate our community of what we were doing and what we were offering at the hospital. So we do lunch and learns and all these kinds of things. And our very first one that I remember, the vice president of our area was going to be there, and I was very nervous about what I could offer, to explain about arts and medicine. We were all so new, and I decided to bring homemade Play-Doh. And I actually deliberated the whole time, like, is this ridiculous or is this wonderful? Is this ridiculous or this is wonderful? So I decided to make it all white so that it would look much more adult. And it ended up, there was probably only about 6 people at our lunch and learn. But when it was my turn to speak, I looked over and Jordan, the vice president, was actually just there, smushing his Play-Doh. And inside I was like, touchdown! But it really did help shape the rest of my practice, where I just, learned to trust my own instincts and to offer, really it didn't matter what I offered as much as what, we're offering of ourselves, like Elizabeth was talking about, talking or being with people. I, just to back up a little bit, the units that I worked on, the very first one on the pilot program was high-risk obstetrics. They're women on bed rest, and they could be on the unit as much as 20 weeks, which was, incredibly difficult to keep your sanity. And I also worked on the neonatal ICU unit with the families. I worked on adolescent psychiatry. I worked with daycare dementia as an arts medicine extension outside of the hospital. It was called the CARES program. And I did work a little bit at Children's Hospital before the pandemic in hematology oncology. And then I also did referrals like Elizabeth, the wild cards. And, it's just amazing to reflect back at how, we developed our program, developed our skills. We always had, we called it I called it my bag of tricks. Also, I'm the visual artist. So I would do a lot of crafts with people that decorate their room, a lot of seasonal things, and real painting and canvases, a lot of community canvases, which were probably one of my specialties, where I would draw something and then lots of different people would paint on it. I would be in the, sometimes in in areas where there was lots of traffic around lunchtime, and I'd say, like, come paint with me, just 60 seconds, just 30 seconds, come paint a circle, you know. And then in the end, it would be a beautiful canvas that usually had a destination waiting for it, like it was for a certain unit or not. I painted those on high-risk obstetrics every year. We did an annual community canvas, and it really, I think, changed the look and the environment of that unit. Certainly became a little collection. But the stories, you know, it's so hard to pick the stories, because every single time I worked in arts and medicine, I had a meaningful interaction. Every single time. It was the most, you know, successful job. You know, there's just no way you could leave without success. And I mean, there were days that were harder than others to reach people, but there was never a day where I did not have a meaningful interaction. But this one story, I've told it a lot of times, and it really speaks to us as a team. It took place on adolescent psychiatry, and at that point, we had 3 different artists in residence that rotated there. We had the movement teacher, myself in visual arts, and our creative writing artist in residence. So we often collaborated on themes, you know, so that it would just give us a really nice dynamic and curriculum. So we had this one patient who had an incredibly difficult time communicating. He was about 16, and someone told me, some staff member said that he had a low IQ. So he was like, I can't really, it's hard to describe how he would talk. Like his sentences didn't go in order. They were kind of random. You'd kind of piece them together like a puzzle and figure out, oh, you're talking about the space shuttle, you know. And so you can imagine how aggravating it would be to be his age and to be completely misunderstood probably his whole life. So we had a very thoughtful, wonderful physician on that unit, and she really wanted to create something special for him. Oh, let me back up. When he painted in these giant strokes. We put paper all over his table. He painted in these giant strokes. And it just dawned on me that he talks like an abstract painting in these big swooshes. And I mean, he was really quite fascinating, and you know, a lot of us connected with him. So we decided to do a Chinese New Year celebration, and we made him the lion dancer. Oh, because this physician had said she wanted to do something special. So we made him the lion dancer. And so I was in charge of like making the costumes. And so we made this giant, cardboard lion head for a dragon dance kind of thing. And he starts moving his body, and he's doing it just like he paints. His whole body is moving. He's undulating. And we're all just sitting there with our eyeballs like this big, and he's so excited about being kind of in charge of the lion head and, where red should go and all this kind of stuff. So we really discovered that the arts spoke to him during the Chinese celebration, Chinese New Year celebration. So, excuse me, my door just flew open. That's not good in Selma. Anyway, so we decided to do something really special for him, and we decided to have an art show just with his art. So the staff let me paper his entire room so that he could just paint, like, and create an environment. He worked on a special poetry and writing with our creative writing teacher, and he learned a song with music therapy, and we had like a whole little opening, like we had a table with snacks and all this kind of stuff. And y'all, it was truly magical. Everybody came. the staff came, the other patients came, and he described his art perfectly clearly. His art was, of course, expressive of how he was feeling. And it was just like truly the healing power of art. He discovered his voice and he could communicate with us all. So it was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Helene. It's so good to see you.
You too.
I wanted to, so unfortunately, our wonderful poet in residence, Selam Green, she is here with us, yet she's not able to share today, but just wanted to say hello to Selam and acknowledge that she's here. She is Birmingham's first City of Birmingham Poet Laureate. And now I will introduce Haley. Haley Black, our musician in residence.
Hello, everyone. Yes, as Kimberly said, I am an artist in residence, and I play the violin. I have it here, and I look forward to playing you one song after I speak about my experience with arts and medicine. As Helene said, there are really just way too many stories, and I can't just pick one. So I will just give you an idea of all the things that I do and that have happened, because there are just a lot of really small, like really short stories, short little blips, but very meaningful. So I've been doing this for about 4.5 years now. Just mostly playing violin in the hospital, like North Pavilion and UAB Highlands, and public spaces. And then otherwise, I do Zoom calls with integrative medicine clinic, and there's like a Parkinson's group, and all sorts of little other groups that meet up and have their own sort of community. And but yeah, a couple main points that Kimberly touched on was that, like, a lot of what we do is distracting from anxieties, creating a sense of community, increasing well-being, and I feel like I also inspire positive memories based on what people have told me. So here's a couple stories based on all those things. So when I first started with arts and medicine, one real big, like, oh, okay, I'm helping here is just this little girl comes off the elevator with her mom, maybe 4 years old, and she's just bawling her eyes out, like so loud in the hospital. And then she sees me playing and completely stops. You know how sometimes kids will be just like crying sudden, and then instantly stop once they're distracted by something else. And that's what she did. And she stood there with her mom and listened to me for a couple minutes. And then as her mom was like, all right, we gotta go, she like motioned to me like, thank you, that was the first real cue of like, oh, this is great. Like I'm helping people with the thing that I love to do most. And that's what I needed as a musician, really, because I used to be so nervous about performing in front of people. It would just be embarrassing, being the center of attention for me. And once I realized that the arts can help people in these various ways, I realized that that was more purposeful for me, and gave me purpose. And so now that's how I think about performance, is like an offering. Then guests in the hospitals tell me that listening to them helped them forget about their anxieties for a moment. People who are there visiting their loved ones. And I have this note from a staff person saying, thank you, you made my day better. And I got another note from another staff person who was saying that they were just so tired, and this was around COVID times. Well, I mean, I guess it's still COVID times, but when COVID was new. And she was just so tired, and she didn't want to interact with anyone, and just having live music there gave her the opportunity to just sit and be like obviously meditating and just have her own space in a public space where she didn't have to interact with anyone. She didn't even have to clap, and it was just a way of getting away in her own mind. And then guests will record me on their phones and then go take their recordings back to their loved ones in the hospital and share that with them. And when I'm with the Parkinson's group or integrative medicine clinic, I'll play a song for them and we'll talk about it, and kind of how did that make you feel, but like what did you think about when you heard this song? And everybody brings up their own sort of memories or imaginary worlds, and I feel like we can get away together to this imaginary place or to this memory together, and it really does build a sense of community, and I really enjoy being part of that community. And it reminds people of who they are outside of the hospital too. And speaking of that, I was playing an Irish tune at the North Pavilion one day, and this staff person comes up and she's like, "Hey, do you know any other Irish tunes, like Irish jigs?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that for you." So she was like, "Well, yeah, I want to dance along." And she's in her scrubs, and then she starts, I start my jig, and then here she goes with this like real professional Irish dance moves, like kicking her legs up high. And she told me that she used to be, like, before she was working at the hospital, she was a professional Irish dancer. And then there was a choral instructor too who passed by. This was a couple weeks ago. And he knew a lot of like love ballads, and I was like, "Well, do you know Moon River?" And so he was like, "Yeah, I can do that one." So he sang that along with me, just had his own little performance there. And he told me thank you afterward, and because he, again, got to forget about his anxieties that he was dealing with in the moment, just for a little bit. And then lastly, speaking of Moon River, which I'm about to play for you, is the last time I played at the hospital. I finished that song, and this woman came up to me afterward, teary-eyed, and she said, "My dad used to play that song for me every night before I would go to sleep," and thanked me and went on her way. But it can be a heavy sort of job to have, because I am empathizing with the hardships that everyone's going through. But it is very meaningful work knowing that you are there for people in such a crucial time. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy this song. It's called Moon River. You would probably recognize it. you very much, and I'll pass it along to Kimberly for our next artist.
Thank you so much, Haley. It's so clear that each of these artists give so much of themselves. It's not just going in and doing something at the bedside or leading a group, but each one of these artists gives so much of who they are, and that is why this work can be so impactful. So next, I would like to introduce Shahid. He is our newest artist in residence and does so much in the community and then also at children. So Shahid, I will turn it to you.
Peace, everyone. My name is Shahid. I am one half of the legendary Birmingham international hip hop group Shahid and DJ Supreme. I'm also the acting executive director of a nonprofit educational hip hop foundation called Knowledge, Rhythm, and Understanding. And that program is a program dedicated to teaching the youth and or adults the 4 elements of hip hop. What we do is we teach the 4 elements of hip hop as a wellness tool. We use the art of MCing, breaking, DJing, graffiti artwork. We use it to show people that hip hop can be used in a positive way. Also, for a lot of us and our staff that works with our program, we have been doing this hip hop thing since we were children, and we realized the impact that hip hop had on us, and it kept us from getting into a lot of different things. So our goal in our program is to show that you can use hip hop and art as a means of staying out of trouble and as a means of healing and working together, working through some things that you might have through the art of hip hop music. One of the things that I didn't realize when I thought about working before arts and medicine, before I even heard of arts and medicine, I had always this concept with the program that I came up with. I'm not going to mention the name yet, but I came up with this program about 5 years ago. And one of the alumni on here, meeting her in the hospital because my parents were sick, she came to their room. And basically, when she came to their room, she was reading them a story. And also they had told me that Elizabeth, she was a dancer and they enjoyed doing dancing with her and Zumba at Lakeshore Foundation. And so I initially inquired with her about, hey, how did you get into this? How do you do this? And she gave me the information. Shortly after that, I meet the wonderful Kimberly Kirklin. When I meet her, I'm asking her, like, hey, I have this idea, this concept. And so it was through that initial phase 3 years ago that I started working with arts and medicine. And so now, fast forward, we've done projects with arts and medicine and partnered with them with the Jefferson County Family Court, helping youth, feel better about themselves. And then that led into me doing the behavioral health unit where I teach 4 classes weekly. This process for me has been very good. It's very new, but this is the first time I think that hip hop has been integrated in arts and medicine. And so in this process, I've had so many great experiences. I have not had a bad experience yet doing this for the last 2 months. We've had breakthroughs. We've had similar situations that I think Helene mentioned where she had someone who couldn't talk. I had someone who had a problem expressing themselves talking. They couldn't read. But in their head, he always wanted to do music. So for the first 2 weeks I come in, he's quiet. He doesn't say anything. All right. Then the third week, he tells me, look, I can't read because I'm telling people to write down some lyrics. He says, I can't read, but I got it in my head. I said, well, say it. You don't have to read to memorize. You can memorize what you want to say. So he got on the microphone and he started doing his thing. Like, then I come back the second week. He does it again. And the third week, now he's an active participant. not realizing he's thinking he's limited because he can't read. But one of the things that I have discovered in hip hop, there's a thing called freestyle. In jazz, there's a thing called improvising. And that's what he was able to do with his skill set. It's special to him. And he was able to express themselves, feel better about it. And that's kind of like what we try to convey to people. This led to us, Arts and Medicine, and myself and DJ Supreme. We came up with a song called Arts and Medicine. It was inspired by the great work that departments like this does. I realize that hip hop is not popular to a lot of people. People look down on it, unfortunately. But one of the reasons that I'm here is to remove those type of misconceptions and to show and prove that this can be a learning, educational, healing, and wellness tool for youth and adults. So I'm very happy to be a part of this program, to be a part of working, learning about other artists who do similar work. It's been a great spot in my life. It has helped me become a better person. And those are pretty much my experiences with Arts and Medicine. I'm thankful for it.
Thank you, Shahid. It's a joy to watch you work. I also want to acknowledge that we have some other folks on here who are critical to arts and medicine. So we have Aviva Bahel. We have, of course, Lauren Edwards. She is, the woman behind all admin implementation management things. We have the wonderful Crystal LeRae. Crystal Brister does, she's an actor, but she also does playback theater. We'll be starting a playback troupe. Really excited about that. We also have Marie Blair. She is a wonderful yoga teacher that started with us back in the integrative medicine clinic. And we did have, let's see, Tracy Carlisle on. She's wonderful from the VA. She's a whole health coach, and we've been partnering with them. And then Deidre Sanderson was a part of our Raising Our Voices, and she's now going to be with us on our administrative team. Of course, I mentioned the wonderful Salem Green, and then I see Jordan's iPhone, and I'm wondering if that's Jordan DeMoss, our amazing, he's been with us. It was his vision that that UAB Hospital would start to have more arts. They always had a wonderful music therapy program. I think that's going on 20 years or a little more than 20 years, but he wanted more, and so it just our worlds collided, and that was the start of the pilot project. And so he was central in the development of this whole program. I would also, so at this point, we just have about 10 minutes left, but I wanted to, let's see, open it up, see if, Jordan Beam. Well, wonderful, Jordan. We're welcome. We're happy you're here as well. Welcome. But Jordan DeMoss was a key player in the creation of this. So I wanted to just let a couple other folks. Crystal, we just have a few minutes, but would you be willing to just share in a couple minutes kind of what you do with us?
Yeah. So hello, everyone. My discipline is theater, and I would say expanding the storytelling. We have to change it on the website. I don't know, where it'll be more all-encompassing. So I too have worked on the adolescent psychiatric unit at Children's of Alabama. I've retired from kids as of December 13th, so that is no longer, but I enjoyed my time with them there. I feel like just to kind of attest to what others have shared, I think that the work that we do is really about creating space for people. And yeah, space to connect with themselves, space for them to connect with others. So yeah, it's been really rewarding work. As Kimberly shared, we're going to be starting a playback theater troupe in the coming months, which is super exciting. Briefly, playback theater, people share their real life stories, and then those are enacted for them on the spot through a combination of movement and dance and song and drama. So it's a really cool art form to be able to honor people's experiences. So I'm really looking forward to diving more into that and bringing that as an added addition to the work that we're doing at the hospital.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Yeah.
And Aviva, if you would just briefly share what you're working on.
Sure. Good to be here with everybody. I'm a visual artist. My background is a professional calligrapher, but I'm also a watercolorist and multimedia artist, mixed media artist. So a couple of things that I'm working on. I do hospital referrals and I work with the acute care for the elderly, but I also am involved with larger hospital art installations and working with different units when they have certain projects that they enjoy, and doing aging creatively. And just briefly, one of the things that I would share is I think one of the things that we do is a lot of time we come across people who are compromised physically or in other ways, and then we give back to them the ability to still create. So that I've worked with low vision rehab clinic, 60 young kids with a low vision rehab clinic, and able to create tactile art. So while there is a limitation in vision, they can still do something that's just extraordinary. I worked with one woman with Aging Creatively who was blind, but she had a reference for sight at an earlier time in her life. So we were able to create a way for her to use color and create. And she will tell you that she sees with her heart, but the art that she made was just beautiful. So I think that's what we all do is we come across populations of people who are struggling in some way. And we try to create that avenue for them to be able to create in a new way. And just to make something beautiful, sometimes for a moment and sometimes for longer than that.
Thank you so much, Aviva. So yes, let's see. And of course, if anyone has a question, you're welcome to put it in the chat. But I did want to acknowledge that, you know, I'm so happy that, you know, we were able to share such wonderful stories, but it can be challenging too. And of course, not everybody wants to hear a story or have an interaction. So another element of this is providing a space that people can say no to. In the hospital, people might not feel they can say no a lot of the time, but this is a space where people have the power to say, no, thank you, not today. I also wanted to just say that we've got a few things happening. We're moving forward with, we'll have Gee's Bend, the Quilters of Gee's Bend, with us the last week of February. They'll be in the hospital working on a quilt. So if you'd like more information about that, please let us know. We are super excited. We've got 10th anniversary events happening all year long. We're about to start UAB Medicine staff choir. We've got other artist exhibitions scheduled that will link with different healthcare populations and healthcare departments. I also wanted to acknowledge that we are so thankful for our partnership with the School of Health Professions Occupational Therapy Department, where we have been partnering on a number of research projects to investigate the impact of the arts on health and wellness. Elizabeth, who you met, and then Selam Green, who is also here, designed the protocol for a Right to Heal program for people with spinal cord injuries, and we've gotten a number of grants, and that's leading to a large festival around disability awareness, stories from the disability community, and advocacy. So that'll be coming up in 2015. And we're always working on our training and graduate certificate program that will be coming up. And so Again, I just wanted to thank you all so much for being here. As we wind down, we just have a few more minutes, and I wanted to make sure we got to hear the song that Shahid and DJ Supreme created. So I'm going to turn it over to Shahid. Before we do that, I just want to say that we will please check our email for our February Virtual Mental Health Monday coming up. Salem Green will be featured there about a racial healing project that she worked on. She continues to work on. So join us in February for that. And Shahid and DJ Supreme will take us out. Oh,
Peace. So yes, without further ado, 1, 2 in the place to be. This is a song that was inspired by this department and the work that it does. It's called Arts and Medicine. It's by Shahid and DJ Supreme. If you haven't heard it yet, this is a premiere for you. If you've heard it, you can check it out again. Go look it up. Shahid and DJ Supreme, Arts and Medicine. Peace.
Bismillah, yeah, y'all, to the AIM, Arts and Medicine, AIM, yeah, y'all, to the AIM, Arts and Medicine, AIM, yeah, y'all, to the AIM, Arts and Medicine, AIM, AIM stands for Arts and Medicine, AIM stands for Arts and Medicine, in our facilities, we offering activities, it's Arts and Medicine, and yes, we have the remedies, writing and poetry, we even got calligraphy, using good energy to stimulate you mentally, music and melodies, wellness and therapy, it has been known to help the people heal medically, successfully, the work we do is heavily, we helping the people express themselves healthily, the properties of healing, that is an awesome feeling, we never know the pain a person can be concealing, we want to help with that, so here's the welcome mat, wherever I help, we help in any habitat, my being well is taking care of my well-being, inspire healing from what we hearing and what we seeing, and for the time being, I'm rhyming and MCing, art is a medicine, that's a fact I'm guaranteeing, we taking aim using arts and medicine, emotional intelligence is what we developing, beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements, AIM stands for arts and medicine, we taking aim using arts and medicine, emotional intelligence is what we developing, beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements, AIM stands for arts and medicine, your mood will improve, dance you can groove, if you ever feeling down, exercise and move, just meditate and relax, and eat a healthy snack, if you wanna feel better, we can help you with that, we be patient with the patients, aromatherapy, fragrance, in the medical field, arts and medicine is sacred, we learned it from the ancients, and know you can't erase it, the best way to heal from the pain is to embrace it, and you could be awakened, so you don't have to fake it, this life is a journey, travel like and you can make it, self-care is healthcare, and wealth is what we share, remember the creator, and say a little prayer, and focus on your arts, and purify your heart, it's all about progression day to day, mark your chart, it's time to heal better, so we can feel better, and we can achieve this if we keep working together, we taking aim using arts and medicine, emotional intelligence is what we developing, beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements, AIM stands for arts and medicine, we taking aim using arts and medicine, emotional intelligence is what we developing, beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements, AIM stands for arts and medicine, yeah, y'all, to the AIM, arts and medicine, AIM, yeah, y'all, to the AIM, arts and medicine, AIM, AIM stands for arts and medicine, AIM stands for arts and medicine, that's right, AIM stands for arts and medicine, that's right, AIM stands for arts and medicine, the properties of healing, that is an awesome feeling, we never know the pain a person could be concealing, we want to help with that, so here's the welcome mat, wherever I help, we help in any habitat, my being well is taking care of my well-being, inspire healing from what we hearing and what we seeing, and for the time being, I'm rhyming and MCing, art is a medicine, that's a fact I'm guaranteeing, we taking aim using arts and medicine, emotional intelligence is what we developing. Beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements. AIM stands for arts and medicine. We taking aim using arts and medicine. Emotional intelligence is what we developing. Beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements. AIM stands for arts and medicine. We taking aim using arts and medicine. Emotional intelligence is what we developing. Beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements. AIM stands for arts and medicine. We taking aim using arts and medicine. Emotional intelligence is what we developing. Beauty, grace, and elegance, repping the elements. AIM stands for arts and medicine. Shaheed, DJ Supreme, knowledge, rhythm, and understanding. AIM, arts and medicine. Arts and medicine. Shout out UAB AIM. Arts and medicine. AIM stands for arts and medicine.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day. Thanks
Peace.
for being here. Thank you, Shaheed.